Hello, welcome back. How is everybody doing? This is From the Pocket. I am Jake Norman. That is Christian Head over there in Dallas, Fort Worth. I just took a trip up to DFW. Just saw you and a bunch of the other homies, Christian. It was nice. How was your
Yeah, it
weekend
was
outside
nice
of
to
that?
see you. I don't know. I'm coming down with something. I don't know if it's cold or it's like allergies, but other than that, I've been doing fine. Yeah, it was nice catching up. Like it's nice to always see you. So
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's always it's nice getting up to being able to go up there more often. You know, it's like you're in
hmm
Chicago. It's like you come down once every year, 2 years. It's really rough. So
right.
But thank you, everybody, for joining us. We got some stuff to talk about in the off season of the National Football League today. We're
hmm
going to go over some news. We finally had some news development. It's a little bit of a different tone from what the past few weeks have been, where it just feels like everybody's repeating the same "What if this happens?" segments. Um, we have some contracts to go over. We wanted to talk about the Super Bowl odds, give our thoughts on the teams that are most undervalued or overvalued. We have a comment from Tyreek Hill that we were going to talk about a little bit of a crazy statement he made, and then we're going to end this on rookies we're excited to see. So pretty jam packed
Yeah.
episode.
I think starting Tuesday, rookies are gonna start reporting training camp. So it's getting a little perked up now. Now that we're
It's there.
getting close.
Yeah, I mean we're 2 weeks away from basically 2 weeks away, a little less than 2 weeks away from the preseason starting. Preseason it drags on, but hey, you know that first week of preseason is always exciting because it's like, oh my god, we're back, we're here. So 3 weeks of preseason, you get that bye week, and then it's Chiefs Lions. So I mean, it's coming right up. So, but yeah, to go ahead and start. We had some DHop news. He finally got signed a lot sooner than I think a lot of people, including
Right? I was
myself,
not
anticipated. He is going to the Tennessee Titans. So a little bit of a curveball
another.
there.
Yeah.
2 years, $26 million. So he's still making some pretty decent money. I mean, he's not making the 30 million he was set to make with the Cardinals, but hey,
hmm
13 million a year average is pretty solid for a wide receiver, especially an aging one. Um, Not really sure what it does for the Titans. I really,
Ooh, that is a question I was thinking about asking you. Like,
yeah.
do you because I bet right now you can probably still look. I bet the Jacksonville Jaguars are still the pick to win the AFC South over there. So what does this do to their odds? Does it shift the needle like even slightly for you, or what do you think?
I honestly not really. I mean, it
Mm,
might help them a little bit within their own division, but I still don't think
mm,
they're near the Jaguars. I definitely don't think of them as anywhere near, I mean, maybe even middle of the pack in the AFC, let alone top tier. I
mm,
look at the Titans and they have so many holes still. I mean, their O line is kind of beat up. Derrick Henry's aging. They could have a new quarterback this year. Who knows what that situation's going to look like? You know,
mm,
Ryan Tannehill's still there, but that defense, even though it is rebuilding, you know, Mike Vrabel, he always puts together a good defensive effort. So I think the defense will be fine. But I mean, to me, this team feels like a 6-win team, and I don't imagine DeAndre Hopkins is moving the needle a lot. DeAndre Hopkins, I feel like at this point in his career, is a great number two. If if the Eagles had gotten him, like that would have been amazing because you can have AJ Brown, you put D Hop on the
mm.
other outside, you could put Devontae Smith in the slot and just have him burn the poor linebacker safety that's got to cover him, and your offense is basically unstoppable. But when you have it with the Titans, I mean D Hop, he's probably going to be the number one receiver at this point. I
Mm.
just it just doesn't do a lot for me. I don't know. I hate to be mean about it. I really wanted them to go to the Patriots, as we talked about a lot. I think that would have made a
Mm.
difference for the Patriots, who are kind of that middle of the pack team, maybe that 7-8 win team that could get a boost with the right player in the right spot. And
Mm.
instead, he's going to the Titans, who I don't think have enough to make a difference with or without him.
I'll say it doesn't like it doesn't change the needle a whole bunch. I'd say, but it does add a little bit. Like he's still sort of productive. Last year with Arizona, played the 9 games. He was suspended the first few ever games. Had 96 targets, 64 catches, 717 yards, and only 3 touchdowns. So I think he still has some value there. He's a little bit, older, as you said. So and then to a young tennis, I don't even know who's their core. Like I don't know who they have in there. So they do probably. I get why they did that. They need this, veteran presence that'll, help show your new guys. So it does feel like a bridge gap. You said he's only getting the contract's only for 2 years, so this is more like a bridge player and stuff like that. If you're the Tennessee Titans, I bet you're hoping one of your these young quarterbacks that you've drafted uh, will start over Ryan Tannehill, and then having DHop there, who's been a number one, and I think can still have probably not what he was used to, but still have pretty good production there. So that will help with the development there. So, I still think it's Jacksonville's division to lose, but I mean it does make the Titans a little bit more interesting to watch. I mean, they're still going to be competitive because Mike Vrabel's a good coach, and defensively, I think they're still going to be pretty solid. It's just depending on, is Will Levis that guy? Is Malik Willis, going to make that, that sophomore, leap? Or is Ryan Tannehill going to come in and, go back to 2019, 2018 Ryan Tannehill when they made the AFC Championship? I don't think that's coming. So you're really banking for your two young guns there. So
And to answer your question, here's who they have at receiver outside of DeAndre Hopkins. They have
mhm.
Traylon Burks, who was their first round pick last year in the 2022
I think
draft.
he had some plays
He had
last year. I
33
think.
catches. 33 catches
Okay.
had no touchdowns though. The rest of it though, Kyle Phillips,
hmm
Dalton Dowell, Jacob
Yeah.
Copeland, Chris
Yeah.
Moore, Reggie Robertson, Trayshawn Harrison, a lot of
Uh,
either no
a
names
lot of these
and a
guys
lot
are
of
gonna be
undrafted
get
receivers
cut.
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, Traylon Burks. Maybe you're praying that he's first round pick. Maybe he emerges as your number one or number two, and DHop. So, but that's about what they got, And maybe you say,
hmm
well, Derrick Henry's going to require them, you can't really double team somebody, take somebody out of the box. You still got to account for Derrick Henry. So maybe that's
hmm
kind of the angle they're going for. But I don't know. I was a little disappointed with that. Not with the Titans. Titans are doing what they have to do. I'm wishing
Yeah.
them luck, but I just don't think it's going to make a huge difference for them. So
And it's weird because we both thought coming into this that he wasn't probably going to get signed till training camp,
yeah,
and now we're about a week or two before training camp starts, and he signed with the Titans, which has been like really because I thought the betting favorite was the Patriots. I thought he was going to go to the Patriots. It was being reported that he was holding out for like the Bills or the Chiefs, but I guess it just never. I guess he just wasn't liking the pay cut, and so he was like the where the I imagine the Patriots were offering if not the same or a little bit more. Like it's a it's weird that he picked the Titans, but it is what it is.
it's also maybe a little bit of wishful thinking on our part because we're like, oh, Patriots be a great fit if he can bury the hatchet with Bill O'Brien, and it's like, well, that's kind, I mean, in hindsight, that's a pretty big ask, to just
Yeah,
bury that hatchet. So I do wonder if maybe that played into it a little bit too.
that could have. Yeah, that could have.
Um, if the Patriots are offering him 15 million and the Titans are offering him 13, it's like I'll take a $2 million hit to not have to deal with that guy. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not in his head, but the
Mhm.
other big contract I think that a lot of people are talking about was Quinnen Williams for the New York Jets, their
Mhm.
D tackle. He just finished out his fourth year. I did not think he was going to get a contract until this
Until this
upcoming
last
season.
year.
Yeah, because looking at his stats, his first year he played about 13 games, had two and a
Mhm.
half sacks, had 7 sacks and 6 sacks the next couple of years, and then 12 sacks this year. So really,
Got him Pro Bowler, and then first got him also selected for first team All Pro.
yeah,
So yeah, he
it's
had a monster season. Big, big expectation for that Jets defense. Very curious on how that's going to look. I know defenses from year to year uh, don't tend to be as dominant as they were the previous year. So that's going to be interesting to watch. As you said, he's got this big contract, 4 years. Was it 96 million?
Yes.
4 years, 96 million. Largest contract by defensive tackle in NFL history. I think second highest average per year according to NFL.com and Placerio and Ian Rappaport. So,
Yeah.
yeah, big expectations for the Jets and Quinnen Williams.
And on that note about you talking about, you're right, defenses don't typically translate from year to year. Some defenses do, though, and I do think the Jets have a lot of what it takes. They have Quinnen Williams. We know defensive tackles and defensive linemen tend to play consistent from year to year for the most part. You see, like on Pro Football Focus, for example, their grading is a lot more consistent on the D line than other parts of the defense, where secondary gets a little more I guess subjective. What's their assignment here? Are they playing zone? Are they playing man? Where are they supposed to be? It's a little harder to tell versus defensive linemen. It's like you're either beating the guy in front of you or you're not beating the guy in front of you. So it's a little more straightforward.
He was beating the guy in front of him for much of last year.
Yeah, and he was he was an early first round pick, and it feels like now he's finally coming to his own. They do have Sauce Gardner. They have a couple of defensive pieces. Robert Saleh is a defensive coach. So and that defense will probably have a little less pressure on it.
And he's only 25.
Yeah, so a lot of good signs pointing to, I think, the Jets will, even if they're not a top 3 defense or something. I think a lot of signs
still stay in the top 10.
Yeah, point to them being a really solid defense. This is the first round pick the Jets have signed to a second contract.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Muhammad Wilkerson.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, yeah. Muhammad Wilkerson. I think he was drafted in 2011 or 12, and he got an extension in 2016 or 17. I can't remember the years exactly, but he ended up having a lot of disciplinary issues, missed a lot of team meetings, and he ended up getting cut only after like a year or two into that new contract. Got picked up with the Packers for about a year, and he's been out of the league for a few years now. So that did not go very well for them. But Quinnen Williams, he has had no issues off the field. He seems like he's been a straight and narrow kid. My favorite thing I think about when I think of Quinnen Williams was when he got drafted and they're interviewing him and he sneezes, blesses himself, and then thanks himself. So yeah, good for Quinnen Williams. Happy for the Jets. I hope this is a sign of things to come for them, that maybe they're actually, it's a little bit of draft momentum. I know it's been a few years, but it's good for them. So happy for them. Happy for Quinnen Williams.
To read off the I guess the fact tweeted by Adam Schefter, Quinnen Williams now is the first Jets player selected in round 1 to sign a second contract with the organization since Muhammad Wilkerson, whom they picked in 2011. No Jets player selected in the first round from 2012 to 2018 had signed second contracts with the team.
I honestly want to look up their first round picks now. So
dude, we'll that is wild. So, that tells you how bad they have been.
So they got Muhammad Wilkerson.
In 2011.
Quentin Coples.
Okay.
D. Milliner. I don't even know who that is. I have no idea who that is. Sheldon Richardson.
I think I've heard of Sheldon.
Yeah, Sheldon Richardson's been pretty. I mean, he's a free agent right now, but he's had a pretty decent career.
Not first round worthy, probably. Yeah, he's definitely not first round worthy. Even had a contract.
He did not get a contract, I guess. No. Calvin Pryor, he's a safety. Leonard Williams, who got traded to the Giants, he plays for the Giants now.
They did trade. Yeah, they did trade him.
Deron Lee.
Who?
I don't know who that is. Jamal Adams. They traded him. Sam Darnold.
Okay, so they haven't had. I mean, it's a lot of. Okay, it sounds like a lot of duds, obviously, but they hit on some. Jamal Adams.
Mekhi Becton came after Quinnen Williams. They had Zach Wilson, Elijah Vera Tucker. and then Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. You can't say they
I
didn't
mean,
hit on those.
well, we see where the regime switched.
That's fair. So no, it's a yeah. So that's just a little bit of their history there. But another contract, real quick. Joe Mixon restructured his 2020 deal.
He lost some money.
Yeah, he did lose some money. I guess what he's taking a pay cut of about $4 million, and over the next 2 years, 4 million and 4.6 million or something like that to stay with Cincinnati. It's good for him. I guess it's good for Cincinnati. They free up a little more space, but
yeah,
I mean, I imagine Joe Mixon wants to stay with the Bengals.
Oh yeah,
I don't know why you would want to leave. They still don't have a Super Bowl, right? It feels like, if they had a Super Bowl,
they played in a Super Bowl like 2 years ago.
Well, it's also like I do feel like there's Danny Amendola, right? A few years back, he left the Patriots and he went to the Dolphins, and he got paid big money to go to the Dolphins. Yeah. And it's like, well, why'd he do that? It's like, because the dude already has 2 or 3 Super Bowls. Like, who cares? Like, what? I'm gonna stay with the Patriots for less money and get a 4th? Like, no, I got my Super Bowls. I got the chip. Joe Mixon doesn't have that. But it's like we're kind of close. So I do wonder if maybe this would have been different if they had won the Super Bowl. Where it's I already got the chip. I don't want to take a pay cut. Just send me to another team.
I want my money now,
I'll go play for a bottom feeder franchise and make $15 million a year. I don't care. So, yeah, no, but good for the Bengals and good for Joe Mixon. I think you and I are both big on the Bengals. Wouldn't be mad at all to see them win it all.
We'll talk about it where they're ranked in the Super Bowl odds.
We can get to that. Well, yeah, that's coming right up. We have one more contract to go over. Evan Ingram for the Jaguars, their tight end. He got signed 3 years, $41 million. So he's there to stay. I think we talked about him a couple weeks ago. He's going to be a really big piece for Trevor Lawrence going into this new year. A lot of weapons on that team. It should all really fall into place, I think, with the addition of Calvin Ridley. Good for Evan Ingram. Love to see a guy get paid. And big supporter of the Jaguars and what they've been doing these past couple of years. So crossing our fingers that he has a pretty good season too, I guess. I don't really have too much else to add on Evan Ingram, though.
No, I think that's about it.
All right. See if he can break into that top 5. Because when he was drafted, he was like kind of he was really good. And he he played for the Giants, didn't really have a huge chance. So now he's playing with Trevor Lawrence, second year in the system. I don't really think this could be a big year for Evan Ingram. I don't know if I'd pick a tight end for our potential dark horse candidates, but I think he would have been a good contender for a dark horse pick. He could have a really big year potentially, just the way everything is set up for him. So, all right. We can get to our second segment. That's all the news. We have the Super Bowl odds that we wanted to talk about. So we're getting ours from where is it? MGM?
I took this list from sports.betmgm.com.
Yes. Okay. So MGM. So we have the top 10 teams there. Now we were looking at some of these other sports books. The odds are a little different, but the rankings are generally the same. So if you really want to,
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. So if you want to get super into it, trying to figure out what bet's the best, you might just have to go look at the individual sports books. But for our sake, we were going to talk about what teams we feel like are overvalued and undervalued. What are good pickups for you, and what maybe you should stay away from and sell the stock on. So the first team, the Kansas City Chiefs, they have the best odds.
Course. Super Bowl champion.
I don't think either of us have an issue with that. I mean, I don't know if they'll do it, but they're the defending Super Bowl champ.
There's some people I know that believe they'll three-peat.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about that at some point. It's a little early just because they've only got the one right now. So like, maybe that's a segment for next year if they get it. I don't know, but that is an interesting topic to talk about because it feels like if there is a team that could do it, it's them. So do you think the Chiefs will get their second? It does. It does take a lot. It's hard to get a second one in a row. And I mean, obviously it's hard to get a third. It's never been done in the NFL. So yeah, Chiefs are number one. I don't think we have any issues with that. The Philadelphia Eagles are number two.
That's usually how it goes. Like, yeah. Both teams that make the Super Bowl are usually the favorite teams. the highest favorite teams next year. So I get it.
Yeah, and I mean it's not even a bad bet.
I don't hate that. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not an egregious bet. Like I think
Hmm.
I don't think they'll get back. I just think there's too much working against them this upcoming year. But like
Hmm.
it's pretty undeniable they're clearly one of the teams in the NFC. So like the only reason I'd stay away from them is just because maybe I would say their odds are a little too high to do it versus like what you would actually be able to get. I would say maybe go for more of a value pick. But outside of that, I mean, yeah, they're one of the contenders. They're defending NFC champions, and they have a loaded roster. They have a really good roster. So I don't really have too much of an issue. I would maybe be what's the word? I might be a little nitpicky and say they're slightly overvalued, but
Hmm.
no issue for me. All right, Buffalo Bills number 3.
A little high here. I think they're overvalued. I feel like the Bills are like they're like the Philadelphia 76ers. They were like, oh yeah, this is the year they're about to bust out Harden and Harden and Joel Embiid about to bust through, and then they get bounced in round one and round two. That's what I feel like. That's what the Bills did, and we've been talking about it all off season how much they lost defensively, and it's kind of putting all their uh, all their eggs in one basket and be like, hey, Josh Allen, when it's the game here for us. So, um, yeah, but I mean, I get it. I understand Josh Allen. We just talked about it. He was in my top. Was he my fourth or third? We just talked about it. He was in our top 5 quarterback list. He's a very good quarterback. He has very good weapons and stuff like that. Uh, I'm just very curious on how the season's gonna go because we did see that kind of drop off, especially in the second half of that year with all the turnover and stuff like that. He needs to fix that up. But I mean, I understand. I mean, the Bills are a pretty good team, pretty good, pretty well ran. So I understand why the Bills are up here. I just think probably like a little overvalued, especially since they did get a bit worse. But yeah, it is what it is. It is
I
what it is.
think
What do you think?
the Bills, in my opinion, they have a better chance of missing the playoffs than they do to win the Super Bowl. Um,
I feel that because I do feel like they're gonna make the playoffs. It's just yeah.
I again, I haven't picked the game, so I don't know what the win totals will land, but I have a feeling that they are going to miss the playoffs, and I'm going to pick them to miss the
I don't
playoffs.
think they're gonna miss the playoffs. I don't
That's
see
my
them
take.
missing the playoffs.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's hard. It's hard to imagine, right? Because it's like they have
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen, like they've been a perennial playoff team for the past couple of years. Like they still have a good team, but I just feel like their team has just not been taken care of. They're having some issues now within the building with Stephon Diggs, and they're having to deal this the one area of their team that it's like we thought this part of the team was secure the weapons. It's like, well, okay, now we're having to get Dalton Kincaid, and now maybe we'll get DHop because we don't know what's going on with Stephon Diggs. We might have to move him at some point. So they're having to they already had these list of issues, and now they're having to come back and fix these issues that could be issues in the future before they're able to really address their offensive line's still iffy. Their run game might be better, but I'll believe it when I see it. I feel like we've said that every year, like, well, maybe they'll be better this year, and it just never is. So I really feel like if you're betting the Bills with the third best odds to go to the Super Bowl, you're just throwing away your money. Like that's how I feel about it. I don't even know where I'd rank them. I don't think I'd have them in the top 10. I really think
One of the Super Bowl odds. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, for Super Bowl odds, I don't think I'd have them in the top 10. I feel like this is a terrible bet. It's easily, in my opinion, the worst one on the board. And the idea, like the fact that they're higher than the Cincinnati Bengals, who not only thumped them in the playoffs last year, but then also had a way better offseason than they did. Like that's a joke. I mean, that's just a joke in my opinion. Like I don't know how that happened. So yeah, Bills, don't bet the Bills. Like you do what you want to do, but if you're betting the Bills, if your prediction is the Bills in February, you're just wrong. I don't. So anyway, yeah,
Yeah,
Cincinnati Bengals.
Cincinnati,
Um,
fourth on the list. Yeah, I think they should be out of the AFC teams. They should be the second
I agree.
uh, team on the AFC side to win the Super Bowl. I mean, it's been for the past 2 years. It's been. I'm not saying it's going to happen again, but for the past 2 years, AFC Championship has been Chiefs Bengals. I feel like they deserves our goddamn respect for that. Joe Burrows is that dude. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think not. As you know, what you said earlier about the Bills, I think this would probably be a solid bet to bet the Bengals. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago versus the Rams. Uh, they still kind of have their core there. I think they lost some defensive players. I think especially I think in their secondary,
That
but
was Jesse
I
Bates,
think
right?
I think so. Yeah, they
Yeah,
lost
to the
Jesse Bates.
Falcons.
So um, yeah, I think with Joe Burrow, I think you have a shot when you have that guy at quarterback. So as long as that defense, improves, week after week, and then maybe they catch a stride going late into the playoffs, late in the season. But nah, yeah, I think the Bengals should be the third highest team to make the Super Bowl. But yeah,
Yeah, what's the Goldilocks segment we do? Too hot, too cold, just right. The Bengals are just right.
yeah,
Maybe even a slightly underrated, but I mean, they definitely belong in this class of teams. Back-to-back AFC Championship appearances, went to the Super Bowl. I mean, you said it. You have Joe Burrow under center, you have a chance, and that's just what it is. So, really like the Bengals. Big expectations for them. They've just put themselves into that class of teams where it's like, okay, this is what you're going to be now. I guess you're going to be this high caliber, high quality team year in and year out, and maybe year here or there might not go according to plan with injuries, but
mm.
overall, this is where they're at. So yeah, love the Bengals there. The 49ers are
Ooh,
an interesting one to me.
the second NFC team. So they got the
Yeah,
Eagles and 49ers.
and
How do you feel about that being a Cowboys fan?
I mean, I don't necessarily hate. Look, far be it from me to come up here as a Cowboys fan and talk about the team that has knocked us out 2 years in a row and be like, yeah, Cowboys, they deserve more cred than this team. Like, dude, like, I can't do it. Like, the 49ers, I think the biggest question everybody has is Brock Purdy going to be able to continue
What
it?
about Trey
Yeah,
Lance?
Trey.
Everybody talking about Brock Purdy. What about Trey
What about Trey
Lance?
Lance? Yeah, like, that guy's going to come out of no, like, it's pretty scary what's going on in San Francisco with their quarterback situation. I mean, the fact that Sam Darnold, who was almost flamed out of the NFL, I mean, Trey Lance is under him on the depth chart. Like, that's insane. That's like that
Well,
is
is Trey Lance supposed to be back by
he
or
is
like
yeah
by the season?
yeah yeah they're
Okay,
they're going into training camp with
was
Brock
Trey Lance
Purdy one.
healthy?
They're, assuming everybody's healthy. The depth
Okay.
chart is Brock Purdy 1, Sam Darnold 2, Trey Lance 3. They've tried to trade for Trey Lance. Nobody wants him.
Oh,
And
they shopped him. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You probably
like he's just not panned out. He's just not looking good, and it's kind of shocking. Like the degree that we've seen it's tough too because they gave up so much for him, and it's just not materializing. But if the 49ers can figure out their quarterback situation, if Brock Purdy comes in and
Well,
can
he's recovering from an
yeah,
injury
well, he's
too.
recovering from an arm surgery, and
Yeah.
what's his arm strength going to be? He was already kind of, I mean, he's last pick in the draft because of his arm strength or arm talent. What's his arm going to look like after arm surgery his rookie year? So that's a little bit of a concern. I mean, but they just have such a good team, and it's a little older now, but that nucleus is still amazing. I mean, that offensive
Mhm.
line is solid.
Trent Williams,
Trent Williams, you have George Kittle, Debo Samuel,
Brandon Ayuk's been
Brandon
coming
Ayuk, Christian
in his own.
McCaffrey.
Uh-huh.
That defense just star-studded, a star-studded defense, and a few new guys too. Like they
Mhm.
his the safety's name, I'm blanking on his name. I can't ever remember how to pronounce it, but he was a rookie last year, I think, or in his second year or something, and he was a
Mm.
stud. He was awesome. Nick Bosa, defending defensive player of the year. We love him.
Uh-huh.
So it's they have the wall to wall talent. They've been to the NFC Championship. What is it? 3 out of the last 4 years.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they've
Jesus.
been like
Yeah.
in an up and down, topsy turvy NFC. They, even though they don't have a Super Bowl to show for it, and they only have one Super Bowl appearance, they have been the mainstays in the NFC for the past 4 years. Minus
Okay.
one bad season where they had quarterback injuries and just couldn't get on top of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't like the 49ers as a Cowboys fan. I root against them. I'm scared of them, but far be it from me. I mean, I don't see, outside of figuring out their quarterback situation, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be considered one of the two top teams in the NFC. I mean, they've been that 3 out of the last 4 years. They still have an amazing roster. They beat the Cowboys 2 years in a row, and the Cowboys are kind of seen as like that team kind of right under that class. It feels like so.
Well, speaking right under,
Yeah,
the team with I guess, yeah, the sixth best odds is your Dallas Cowboys. Yes, that makes them the third best team in the NFC to win the championship, which is crazy to think that how weak the NFC is compared to the AFC. It's just like, yeah, Eagles, 49ers, Cowboys. And Detroit's up here.
Seattle.
When's the last time we've been putting Detroit anywhere? Has been one of the top teams in the NFC and to be making the Super Bowl
Yeah,
uh, while at it. So, yeah, Cowboys, I like it here. I mean, defense is good. Offense has been, been pretty solid. It's just the postseason. Getting out of the divisional round is what the Cowboys' problem is.
0-7 since they won the Super Bowl last. 0-7 in the divisional.
Mm.
No, I agree with you. I like the Cowboys here. Um, you know, I think up until this point that they are probably the third best team. I think there's a gap, but it's tough to say because it's all like it's almost saying this new season is going to go just like this past season, right? The three
Mm.
top teams in the NFC last year: Eagles, 49ers, Cowboys.
That's usually
And
how it goes. It's
and
just like, oh,
we're just like that's going to be exactly what happens this year, and it's obviously not. So it's kind of guessing. It's typically somewhat the same, but it's a little bit of a
yeah.
different
Hmm.
shape. One or two teams is out of that
Or it
bubble.
could be
Two
completely
teams come
different.
in. Yeah. So um, I think the Cowboys here is I think those odds are correct. I will say though, I think the Cowboys are a good value pick. Like if you're iffy on the Eagles because coming off repeating as NFC champs, not likely, injuries, potential losses this offseason. Like if you want to get rid of the Eagles and you're nervous about the 49ers at quarterback, the Cowboys, if we think that there's a gap between the Cowboys, the Seahawks, the Lions, the Saints, and I think there is, the Cowboys could be a pretty good value pick. I don't know if I'd bet a ton of money on it, but it could be. It's kind of like you're crossing out the list of like
Mhm.
what NFC team is it going to be? It's like, well, is it the Eagles? Well, I'm concerned here. Is it the 49ers? I'm concerned here. Is it the Cowboys? Well, I'm concerned about their playoff history, but at least the Cowboys have the roster and the continuity that a lot of these teams don't necessarily have. So, it's kind of an either or for a lot
Are
of
you
those
talking about
teams.
like the outside of like the top teams?
Yeah. I mean, like,
Okay.
it's like the 49ers they have the roster, but they're missing the quarterback. The Eagles
Mm.
have the roster, but because of their coordinator situation, they could be missing the continuity. The
Mm.
Lions have the continuity. Do they have the roster? The Seahawks, do they have the quarterback in continuity? Yes, maybe. Geno Smith, I don't know. Do they have the
A little
roster?
less,
Maybe. I don't
yeah.
know.
I mean, I
This,
like the additions, like the
yeah, I do
the
too.
draft
I do
picks.
too. The Cowboys, do they have the roster? Yeah, Cowboys have the roster. It's pretty good. It's good enough to get out of the NFC. I think. Do they have the continuity? Well, yeah. I mean, Dak Prescott, is the longest tenured quarterback in the NFL for one team, as we found out. So I think the Cowboys are a decent value pick. I don't know. Maybe it's being a homer, but I think as far as the odds go, this is about where I'd have them. So, what about the Jets? Do you think the Jets are overvalued?
Ooh, them Jets. Jets, I think a little overvalued in my opinion. I'm just a little worried. Dude, go look at their schedule real quick.
It's
Let's take a look
rough.
at their
It's
schedule.
rough.
The first half of their schedule, dude, is insane.
Yeah,
Let me read this out to you. So they open up on oh
Monday
man.
night.
Monday night, 9/11. They play the Bills. Then they on the road to the Cowboys. Patriots, okay. Then they got the Chiefs. Then they got the Broncos. Then they got the Eagles. Then the Giants. Then the Chargers. Their back half of their season is a little bit rough, but dude, I don't. That's like one, two, three, four out of their first six games are teams that went to the playoffs. That's pretty rough.
And the other two that
Uh,
aren't are the Broncos, who very well could be in the
could
playoffs,
be
and the
decent, yeah,
Patriots, who is a division rival.
yeah. So and they haven't beaten the Jet. No, they ended that. They ended that. But yeah. So I'm worried about, as you've been talking about, the continuity of just Aaron Rodgers with a new quarterback, with new receivers, new weapons, stuff like that. They got Hard Knocks. I know that is not much of a distraction as much as many people have been saying. I think First Things First talked about it. Like the last 3 years, the teams that were on Hard Knocks had like pretty decent. I think they all had double digit wins. I think I can't remember. So I don't think it's going to be that much of a distraction, but it could be. It's an extra. You got to be a little bit more cautious than you are in the preseason because the cameras are rolling. So they got preseason like continuity issues. There's a lot of pressure on them this year to do big things. As we talked about early on the top of the episode with Quentin Williams, like that defense has expectations. Like we have so much expectations for this Jets teams this year, and I'm just worried. We're gonna what was it, like the Broncos last year, or well, the Broncos the last few years actually. Uh, you know, they're gonna get all these primetime games, and and especially like I said with that schedule, it could be rough. The going's gonna be rough for them at least in the beginning of the season. So I'm wondering how they're gonna fight through that adversity through those first 6 weeks of the season, and like I want to see if they can they work their way through that. Injuries could happen a lot, but the Jets being what the seventh best is a bit crazy to me. I get it, like Aaron Rodgers and all that, and that defense, but I'm just like, damn,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's.
I'm just a little worried.
I agree. I think they're overvalued here. I mean, it's fun, and you never know. I think the Jets is going to be a really fun team this year. We're
Oh
going to
yeah.
watch them like hawks. It's going to be the most attention the Jets have had on them since maybe the Rex Ryan era, and I don't even think the Rex Ryan era will touch the amount of attention the Jets are going to get from people this year.
Mm.
And I mean, they're a New York team too, which just adds to it. But I mean, the Jets at number 7. Like, I think there's an argument to be made that they're not even one of the 7 best teams in the AFC. So making them a non-playoff team, let alone in the entire league. I have some questions about them. You talked about you talked about a lot of it, right? But even in the roster too, the offensive line still kind of shaky. Will that defense continue to be consistently good as it was last year? I think it will, but we've seen a lot of solid defenses take a step back after they have an elite level year. So still some lingering questions for them. I agree with you. The Hard Knocks thing is probably a little overblown. It's easy to point and say teams that do Hard Knocks don't do very well. It's like, well, it's because there's specific rules as who can do Hard Knocks, and most of the time those are bad teams that are doing Hard Knocks that have no expectations to begin with. But yeah, tough schedule on the out. If things go sideways and they're on prime time and everybody's talking about them, I want to see how Aaron Rodgers reacts to that, because Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he didn't deal well all the time with Green Bay media, let alone what's New York media, national media, in a way that probably he's never had before, even going to be like. It's a lot of lingering questions. So I would stay away from the Jets. Like, have fun watching them. Going to be a good time. Going to be always, have the Jets game on one of the TVs for sure, but I would not bet them. I have no idea what this team is going to look like this year. This team could go 8-9, 7-10. This team could go 13-4. No idea. No idea. So that's how I feel about them. A team that I think is undervalued, at least compared to the Jets, is probably the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah,
The Lamar
I get
Jackson,
it.
yeah, I'm a little concerned about the Lamar Jackson injury stuff, but hey, this awesome team. This defense is probably going to be top tier. John Harbaugh has been to a Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl. Lamar's got an MVP. I have faith in this team. I think this team deserves to easily be a top 5 contender in the AFC, and I'd have no problem betting the Ravens. I'd say they're kind of just right here, maybe even slightly undervalued.
I think I'm also in that boat with you. I think it's just kind of like you said when you brought up the injuries. I think that's what really kind of holds people back from going all in on the Ravens. But I mean, when Lamar Jackson is healthy, I think the Ravens are a very tough team to beat. So as long as he can stay healthy, and he throws the ball, don't maybe take as many risks. I mean, still, get outside the pocket and do what he does. But, if he can just stay healthy, man, yeah, I think Baltimore uh, it could be a really big challenge. Really good team in the AFC to compete.
Yeah, and I think what hurts their odds a little bit is their division. That
Their
division
division
is
does
just
kind of suck.
crazy. I mean, the Bengals we've already talked about because they're one of the top teams. I think the Steelers are going to be really good this year, and who knows what the
We
Browns will
don't know
do.
what the
We have
Browns are
no
the
idea what the
wild
Browns will
card.
be.
We don't know what the Browns are going to do.
If Deshaun Watson returns back to form, I mean, that team could be scary too. So it's kind of tough because I do think the Ravens are good enough to go make a run at this thing, but they're just in such a tough division that it's like, I mean, forget getting out of the AFC playoff picture. Getting into the AFC playoff picture for the Ravens will be hard enough, even with a fully loaded roster. So it's a little tough, but I do like their odds, and I think they are a great team. And I've always loved the Ravens. I've always been a big fan of the Ravens. Love their organization. So I'm rooting for them. I love Lamar. Uh, oh yeah, cool. Okay, so Detroit Lions are next. What do you think about the Detroit Lions? They are, according to MGM, they have the ninth best odds.
Which it makes them the fourth highest NFC team.
Yes, behind the Cowboys, 49ers, and Eagles.
Think a little overvalued. Just like you said, like we've been talking about, we just don't know. Like, yes, they ended, and I'm hoping they do come in the season, with high momentum, because they ended it with beating the Packers at the end of the season, almost made it into the playoffs. So you would imagine having good off season, solid draft. They could come in and make a real push for this thing. So I'm rooting for the Lions. I would imagine they are the betting favorites for the NFC North. So um, they got some expectations on them as well. I don't think Super Bowl expectations should be on their mind. I think winning the NFC North should be their goal, and then maybe you get some lucky breaks in the playoffs. But I mean, you do get a home playoff game if you do win your division. So just win your division this year, and then get past the wild card, and then we'll see what then we'll see where we're at when we're in the divisional.
To me, I don't think of the Lions as like a Super Bowl team. To me, it's like if the Lions, a successful season for the Lions, a fantastic season for them, as it would be for pretty much any team, is NFC Championship appearance. If they win their division,
That
like
would
you
be a
said,
awesome season for
I
the
mean, it'd be
Browns.
amazing. Yeah. I mean, and I don't think anybody would be upset and say they underachieved if they don't go to the Super Bowl. I
Yeah.
mean, that's absurd. I think I agree with you. Yeah, you win your division, you get a home playoff game, you win that home playoff game like you're supposed to. Go into the divisional, see what happens, and
You see
if
what
you mess around
happens.
and you get out of the divisional, oh my God, you're in the NFC Championship. Like it's
It's
on the
that
board. It's
easy.
on the board. Um, and their division is, I don't know,
And
the NFC is
I
weird.
get that's why they're up there that high. It's like, hey, their division ain't that hard.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
mean,
like,
you got to think like they're probably not going to be the fourth seed. They'll probably end up being the third. Maybe the NFC East and the NFC West are the first and second seed. Probably, I doubt they're going to have less wins than the NFC South winner. Panthers or the Saints. Like I don't like so.
the
There's
Bucks, Jake with Baker Mayfield. Come on.
there's chance, a chance that they get two playoff games as a third seed person, two home playoff games, right? If the second seed gets bounced in round one, and round one or in the first seed gets the bye, the third seed would host the other playoff game in the NFC divisional round. So it's on the board for them. I'm not gonna I'm gonna say just right for them as far as Super Bowl odds. We got to keep in mind Jared Goff. He did go to a Super Bowl. He's been to a Super Bowl. And I know it sounds kind of silly because it was a terrible Super Bowl, but he's won playoff games. He's been there, done that. So I'll say they're just right. I'll say they're just right. I think the path is there for them. It seems like some things need to really line up for them, but that's also what it takes to be the ninth team. And at the fourth best odds in the NFC, that means they're going to get bounced in the divisional round. And I think that is just about where they are. They achieve a little bit more, amazing.
Yeah, and like you said, I think I wouldn't put a huge ton of money on it, but if like a little side, little fight, like little easy little bet, money that you don't mind losing, yeah, put it on lines there.
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
these last
Go
for the
off.
10th spots a little bit is little, I wouldn't say controversial, but like it's between these three teams. It's the Miami Dolphins, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Those are generally the teams that make up that. Um, Out of that one, out of like those three teams, realistically, I'd probably say the Chargers because Justin Herbert is phenomenal, and they're the only one. Well, about the only team that can make the Chiefs bleed a little bit outside of the Bengals. So, but you know, Chargers have Brandon Staley. We'll see how that works out this year. Miami has Tua, and what is he gonna make it a full season? With the health and anything and everything like that and concussions. And Jacksonville, like, yeah, it's we're like in the flirting stages with Jacksonville. Like, they had that. It was like it's like that girl. It's like the girl that like in high school that didn't peak, but she like peaked in college. And so you're like trying to, and she got cute, and you're like, oh, okay, what's up? How you doing? And that's what I feel like. That's what Jacksonville is. Like they had that bad first half of the year, and then Trevor Lawrence started playing better. We're like, oh, okay, kind of cute
Kind
there.
of,
And
kind of.
now we're and now we're going into this year like, oh yeah, no, totally like he's so like Jacksonville's so hot. Like they're the
So
hot
hot right
team
now,
right now.
Jacksonville.
So I just want to see it. I just want to see it. I still have them. I think they'll still be the favorite to win their division. So I got faith in them. I just want to see it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel that. I will say so. Dolphins, I think they should have the best odds of anybody in their division. I think I give the Dolphins a better chance to win the Super Bowl than the Bills and the Jets. Jets are a little tougher, but I still, if you give me a healthy Tua, no reason they can't. And I understand the Tua thing's a big if, but the Chargers to me are just about where they should be. Love Justin Herbert, but boy, oh boy, do I doubt Brandon Staley. And everybody's like, he's got Kellen Moore. I'm like, y'all are going to be really disappointed if y'all, like, not that Kellen Moore's bad, but just the fact that it's like, if your entire, like, argument for the Chargers hinges on Kellen Moore, I got news for you. That's not going to be enough. He's a good defensive coordinator, but that's about it.
Offensive coordinator.
Or yeah, offensive coordinator. My bad. The Jaguars. It's not going to surprise you to say this. They're the belle of the ball. They are the absolute. In my opinion, I might have honestly bet them before I moved to Texas. I don't have. I made all these bets, and then I moved to Texas, and I don't have access to the bets anymore.
So you're like, I got money out there on somebody.
I got money out there on somebody, but no, like it shocks me that the Jaguars are this low on the list. Like when you think about those teams that go from they're a pretty good team to oh wow they're like one of the best teams in the league. They check all the boxes. The Eagles were that team last year. They were this middle of the pack. Oh, wow. Kind of surprise NFC team. They got to the 7th seed. Good for them. Oh, and they got blown out by the Buccaneers. But it is what it is. Good season. Hey, maybe you're building something. And then they went into this next year, and it's like, oh, this is like far and away the best team in the conference. Like, I don't know if the Jaguars would be that good. The AFC is way too competitive, but like they have that feeling to me where it's like, yeah, pretty good middle of the pack team. And oh my God, they're actually a really, really good team. Got a quarterback on a rookie contract, have a coach that's already won a Super Bowl going into his second year. Their offensive line will probably be touch and go because of some injuries and suspensions and some, rookies starting. But nevertheless, again, I'm not saying it'll happen, but for value's sake, I would be betting the Jaguars all day long as the 11th or 12th or 10th best team to go. I think I would probably slide them right under the Bengals in terms of pecking order for the AFC. Yeah, I believe in them a lot this year.
I know you do.
So
I know you do.
Well, I was just like, everybody wanted it all the betting people wanted that to happen last year. All the betting community, they just kept betting the Jaguars every single week, and it was not working out. And after I lost...
Until it did.
Yeah, it started working out a little more towards the end of the season, but I jumped off the Jaguars early because I had them as that
because you were like, I think the Jags go into this AFC South, and I was like, really?
And then we jumped off of it and said, oh, never mind. And then they did it anyway.
You were like,
but, well, because, like, I remember they were going into that game against the Eagles, and they were, like, +6, and it was like, oh, wow, that's a steal. They're gonna probably even win that game. Like, they're going to keep it close, and they lost by 8. And that's when I went, all right, maybe it's not quite their time, but the betting community stayed on them and kept losing money on them. And every week, the bettors would come out and go, you got to bet Jacksonville. And then they'd lose. And it's like, guys, how long are you going to do this to yourself? So, I think this is fine. I think the Jaguars are finally, like, at that.
Like, guys, this is paying off.
This is the one. So this is the one. So, yeah, that's your Super Bowl odds. So, I guess let us know what you think. What team is undervalued for you? I know a lot of people like the Saints. Comments. Yeah, a lot of people like the Saints as a value pick.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. The NFC is just so both conferences are tough. The NFC, it's like, who do I believe in? And the AFC is like, it's just an arms race. You're like, I don't even know what to make of this. This is crazy.
Who's going to be the last one standing after that bloodbath in the AFC? Jesus Christ.
So, all right, we'll talk about Tyreek Hill really quick. He's going to reach 2,000 yards, and the Dolphins are going to win the Super Bowl. I really feel like Tyreek Hill, I'll say this really quick. I got a 20-second take on it. I think Tyreek Hill is just in his feelings about the Chiefs. Like, that's what I think it is. Like, okay, I haven't heard anything about this, so I'm kind of just. So that's where everybody's at on this. Is he's just in his feelings.
It's because he came in I don't know if you remember last year. But last year he came in.
Oh my God, it was so accurate.
Yeah, it was so accurate. Best ball I've ever seen and stuff like that. And then he's doing it this year. We're like, oh yeah, we're gonna win Super Bowl. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get 2,000 yards. So it's just him talking. It's just him talking. Like it does feel a little bit like missing it's given like missing your ex energy, you know? It's
He,
just like, come on,
yeah,
bro. You left because you wanted more money, and you went over here to Miami, which I mean, Miami's a great place to live in. No, state income tax, I believe.
they had a good team. I mean,
Good
a
team,
lot of
good
bad teams you
weather,
could have gone
beautiful
to.
women. Come on. And now, like, bro, get over it. Like, get over it. You got your money, you got your ring. I mean, I get it if he wants to get his stats and his money, like, do that. That I have no problem with that. Don't do stupid stuff and get in trouble. So that's my only thing. So if your goal is to get 2,000 yards, I mean, maybe we'll see. It's we got a lot. We gotta get the ball to Jalen Waddle. We gotta get our running game in there. So we got a lot of mouths to
Dalvin
feed
Cook,
this year. So
Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin, if we get Dalvin Cook, yeah, Dalvin Cook might need to uh, get some food. So yeah, it's whatever.
It's
It's just
funny.
Tyreek talking.
Yeah, it's funny, but I do agree.
I mean, I hope that happens. If
That'd
that
be awesome.
happens, hell yes.
Look, it's like it's funny because I feel like Tyreek Hill after the Chiefs won the Super Bowl in February, I feel like he just ruined his house. I feel like he just
No,
threw all of his
like
stuff
we're
around.
not supposed to.
Yeah,
do
like he
it.
just like you ever heard that story about when Kobe got his fifth ring? Shaq just destroyed his house because he was so mad that Kobe got the fifth ring.
Yeah.
It's kind of the vibes I get from this. But that said, like, I mean, okay, let's break it down. 2,000 yards. Well, he was on track to do that at some point last year. I mean, he was just boat racing everybody in total yards, and that was with Tua in and out of the lineup. And Dolphins win a Super Bowl. We just talked about it. It's on the board. So, like, good chance neither of those things happen. Somewhat of a chance one of those things happens. Seems very low that both of those things would happen. It feels like if that were to happen, and I know the Super Bowl race doesn't have anything to do with the MVP, but Tyreek Hill might get the MVP. A 2,000-yard receiver on.
Really, you think so? With Tua staying healthy the entire year, you don't think?
If Tua doesn't stay healthy,
okay,
and he gets 2,000 yards, yeah, I think if they are one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the conference in the league to have their quarterback in and out of the lineup, Tyreek Hill is just putting up historic numbers. I could see an MVP for him, but it's kind of fun. It's just funny because it's like when like on paper you're like this could happen. It's probably not, very unlikely. Somewhere in some reality it could happen, but just because of how much Tyreek Hill has been talking, and it just comes off as butthurt over everything that went down with him and
really
the Chiefs.
Does. It really does.
So anyway, all right, everybody, that's pretty much what we have for you this week. We're gonna save our rookie draft for next week when they all report for training camp. Give our thoughts on who we're excited to see. But until next time, thanks for watching. Give us your thoughts. Share the podcast. I'm Jake, and that's Christian. So everybody have a good week and take it easy.
All right.
Bye.